have designed to provide brief introduction to crucial aspects of Vedic knowledge and wisdom with respect to wealth, to help participants, that is you, to understand theoretical as well as practical aspects of wealth creation at a personal, organizational, national as well as global level. This presentation of mine will be for approximately 1 hour, and there will be 30 minutes of question and answer sessions thereafter. Here is a quick introduction about myself. My name is Mahesh Prabhu. I'm an internationally published author. I have published over, okay. I hope I'm clear now. So my name is Mahesh Prabhu. I'm an internationally published author. I have published over 500 articles and columns and over 5 books. I'm a fellow of the Royal Asiatic Society in UK. I'm a seasoned media management and political consultant. And I have been a student of Vedic knowledge and wisdom for almost 15 years now. And my career is spanning almost 21 years. To know more about myself, you can go to www.indiamahesh.com. So let me give you a brief introduction to Vedic Management Center. The Vedic Management Center was founded in 2016 by myself and Dr. David Frawley, who is also known as Acharya Vamadeva Shastri, with a specific objective of promoting practical aspects of Vedic knowledge and wisdom in the areas of leadership, management, politics, and diplomacy. For more information, you can go to www.vedic-management.com. Now, before we begin, everything that I'm going to teach you now comes from the Vedic text. And the Vedic texts are written in Sanskrit. Not many are aware there are not one but two Sanskrits, or that's how we like to categorize it. And these are Vedic Sanskrit and Panini Sanskrit. In Vedic Sanskrit, that is the language in which all the 4 Vedas, including Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharva Veda, including 18 Upanishads, Aranyakas, Valmiki's Ramayana, Vyasa's Mahabharata, until Kautilya's Arthashastra have been written. The Panini Sanskrit is a language that has been found in Bhagavatam, works of Kalidasa like Meghaduta, poets like Bana, and all major Sanskrit dramas that were written post 1000 AD. Now here, you need to understand that the Vedic Sanskrit is at least 5,000 years old. At least we can have the substantial evidence to prove that this language have been used for at least 5,000 years. The Panini Sanskrit, which comes from Panini's work called as Ashtadhyayi, is not more than 2,000 years old. The Kautilya's Arthashastra, which is the last known text to follow the Vedic Sanskrit and also the Vedic wisdom, was written around the same time as Panini's Ashtadhyayi. So almost when the Vedic text the Vedic language stopped being followed, that was the time during which the Panini Sanskrit came into being. I see some hands here, so okay. So hello, Jasmine. I hear your hands up.
Hi. Oh no, it was sent before when you asked if we can hear you.
Okay, fine, sure. So I hope I'm audible to you.
Yes, you are.
Oh, sure. Thank you so much. So let me go back to the sharing screens. Okay. So now we need to understand the difference between the Vedic Sanskrit and Panini Sanskrit. The key words that we are going to use today have a different meaning in Vedic Sanskrit as well as Panini Sanskrit. Dharma, which is the most commonly used word today, even by the non-Sanskrit people, is a very sophisticated subject in the Vedic Sanskrit. You need a lifetime to understand dharma. But for the purpose of this webinar, we can understand dharma limited to the concept of duty, commitment, honor, and promises. The Panini Sanskrit, the dharma is simply religion, like Judaism, Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, and so on and so forth. Artha, the key word that we are using for today's webinar, is wealth in Vedic, and that is not just money. Whereas in Panini Sanskrit, the Artha is simply currency or money. Rajyam in Vedic Sanskrit is administration. Panini Sanskrit, the Rajyam is only a nation or a state. Now let's see how these simple concepts can have a remarkable impact based on the interpretation of 4 keywords that we have just discussed. Many aspects of this webinar comes from Kautilya's Arthashastra, specifically Artha Sutras. The Artha Sutras are a collection of axioms on meaningful creation of wealth. And believe me, if you understand it right, it is very much practical even to this day. Now, these are the first 3 axioms, and they in Sanskrit read like Sukhasya Moolam Dharmaha, Dharmasya Moolam Arthaha, Arthasya Moolam Rajyam. Now, if we translate this using the Panini's Ashtadhyayi, which most people most certainly do, the Sukhasya Moolam Dharmaha is translated as root of happiness is religion. Dharmasya Moolam Arthaha, the root of religion is money. Arthasya Moolam Rajyam, the root of money is nation. In simple terms, the translations don't stand to make any sense. If religion was root of happiness, then every religious person should have been happy. The fact that not every religious person is happy makes this translation null and void. If money was the reason for religion, there are many religions on earth where money is extremely secondary. They don't even have monastic order, they don't even have institutions, and they still exist. So this too doesn't make much of a sense. Arthasya Moolam Rajyam, that is the root of money is nation. If nation was the root of money, then governments shouldn't have been asking for money from us through taxes. So neither of 3 makes sense. And because each of these axioms are significantly interconnected, if you miss even one single axiom, the entire sutras or the entire list of axioms go null and void. They just don't make any sense. Now let's see how this looks if we translate in Vedic Sanskrit. The Sukhasya Moolam Dharmaha becomes the root of happiness is dharma. I have not translated the word dharma into various words because dharma is a sophisticated concept. If you want to know this dharma, the Arthashastra doesn't explain it. It clearly asks you to go to the original Vedic text, which are better understood in Vedic Sanskrit and not Panini Sanskrit. The next thing is, Dharmasya Moolam Arthaha becomes the root of dharma. Now, for the sake of our understanding here, dharma is good conduct. It is about doing good things, helping others, and so on and so forth, is wealth. So if you have to give something to someone else, you need to have something in the first place. So if you don't have anything, or if you don't know what you have, how are you going to give it to others? So it does make a lot of sense that you need dharma to do good things on earth. The root of wealth is government. Okay, so if you don't have government, then the wealth is not possible because everybody will start plundering. There will be lawlessness, and everybody is going to suffer because of this. So Arthasya Moolam Rajyam, that is the root of wealth is government, do make sense. So although there are, for the sake of this particular session, we have only brought into, in these three key axioms to begin with. Now, there is a saying by a sage, Vedic sage named Bhartrhari. So Bhartrhari was basically a king who eventually relinquished his throne of his own volition or of his own decision to become a hermit sage. He is called as a rishi. He says it is a pain to earn wealth, causes stress to retain it, and leads to catastrophe when you lose it. According to him, wealth is a sum of pain and gain. So nothing comes easy. Of course, we all know that. But what is wealth? Now, if you ask 99% of the people on earth, they are going to simply say, either they show you the currency or a credit card or probably some Bitcoin wallet. This is not wealth. They are not wealth by themselves. They are what we can better understand as denomination of wealth. The wealth is defined in the modern English as abundance of valuable possessions or money, or plentiful supply of a particularly desirable thing. So in popular usage, the wealth is understood as an abundance of items of transactional value. So basically, if you are to call it, if the most of the people on earth are to call anything as wealth, then they need to be able to transact it. So you have to give something to get it back to us. But there are certain things that really don't have a transactional value. For example, if you take diamonds, they have a high transaction value. People are willing to pay you good money for that. But do you know, if you are shown the diamond in its original coal state, which is covered in coal or anything, and you go to people, they will not be able to understand it. They would say, oh, this is just a piece of coal. It's hardly worth it. I may probably give you a 50 cents, 70 cents or something like that. So a diamond has no value for most of the people if they don't know where it comes from and how it is found in the first place. The father of capitalism, Adam Smith, in his book, The Wealth of Nations, described wealth as the annual produce of the land and labor of the society. According to him, this produce is that which satisfies human needs and wants of utility. I have a simple question for you now. You can answer them for yourself. Are these definitions accurate? Do they help us to understand wealth? Can they help us to earn wealth and even sustain it? Well, while you answer this question, let me introduce you to the Vedic aspect of wealth. The Vedic Sanskrit word Artha essentially means wealth, not just currency. Artha in Vedic Sanskrit also implies meaning, sense, goal, and purpose. Therefore, Artha can be better understood as that meaningful wealth which is the harbinger of abundance leading to bliss. Now, many consider currency as wealth, but currency represents wealth and not wealth itself. Many of Indians who are a part of this webinar right now will remember the so-called famous or infamous demonetization that happened in India. The Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, went on air and declared that the tenders of 500 and 1,000 rupees bill will no longer be a legal tender. So everyone who thought that they had a lot of wealth and they had kept it very carefully in their coffers, in their wallets, or anywhere they thought to be safe, had literally no value. What happened to those 500 and $1,000 Indian rupee bill can happen to anywhere on earth. So if you think that currency is your wealth, please be sure they are not wealth, but they represent wealth itself. And some powerful person out there at any time will be able to make that value of wealth null and void, irrespective how hard you may have worked for it. There are two more words you need to understand along with Artha. While Artha stands for meaningful wealth, Vyartha is the wealth without a meaning or a wealth that is unutilized. So if you have a wealth and if you are not utilizing it for any reason, that is Vyartha or practically useless. Anartha is the wealth that is earned by causing destruction or the wealth that is used to cause destruction. Artha, Vyartha, and Anartha. So any wealth that you have, it has no value until and unless it has been understood and it has been used to a proper use. If you have wealth and if you have not utilized that wealth, then that is Vyartha. And if you have wealth, you know what it is, you know how to imply it, and then you have used to cause destruction or have made that wealth by causing a lot of destruction, that is Anartha. Now, the foundation, where do wealth come from? Now, some people might say, oh, the mints make the coins, the press, the security press prints the money, so wealth comes from there. But we have already know that the currency or even the coins are denomination of wealth. They are not wealth by themselves. And through an act of demonetization, any government in any part of the world can make that currency null and void, making it worth nothing. According to Kautilya or Chanakya in his book Arthashastra, he says the wealth stems from the mind. And only when a mind has jnana and vijnana, the jnana means knowledge, and he considers jnana as wealth, and vijnana, that is wisdom, as the greatest wealth. You must understand these four words specifically to understand the rest of this webinar. There are four keywords you need to understand. The first one is data. Second one is information. The third one is knowledge. And the fourth one is wisdom. Data. Let's say, what is data? Data is a raw fact. For example, 1,000 rupees. Okay, so what do you know when there is 1,000 rupees? So if you know that, okay, so you have 1,000 rupees or you owe 1,000 rupees, that becomes information. So what do you do with that 1,000 rupees, with that information? Only knowledge will tell you what you can do. You can spend it on things you want, you can spend it on things you don't want, or anything that you choose. But the option to do with the information is called knowledge. The most important thing in life is to understand that data, information, and knowledge are extremely time sensitive. They are not absolute. What you can buy for 1,000 rupees today, you may not be able to buy it for even a lakh of rupees tomorrow. What you can buy for $1 today you may not be able to buy it for $1 million tomorrow. So these three things are extremely time sensitive, but wisdom is above all. It transcends time. It gives you the ability to understand at what time can this data, information, or knowledge that you so hold supreme will become redundant. That is the reason why wisdom or vijnana was considered as the greatest wealth. And wisdom cannot be taught. It cannot be written in books. You can give data and information in books, devices, or even in webinars. But the knowledge can be given in perspective. Wisdom is essentially what you realize over a long period of time. There's a beautiful story a short parable rather, I would like to narrate in this regard. There was a great Vedic king, and his name was Bhagirath. A lot of people in North India consider him as a person who brought down the great Ganges from the heaven to earth. One day, he went to his guru, whose name was Tritala, and he said, Guru, I know that everything in life is vain. What has to be born has to be, has to die. Whatever we have earned has to be unearned. Whatever we have learned, we will learn at some point in time. That if by knowing this, I will be able to remain free from all the uncertainties in life. But still, I am not uncertain. I don't know why I suffer. So Tritala said, son, there's a difference between knowing, understanding, and realizing. You only know that everything that has been born will die. You may understand what may happen when somebody dies or somebody is born, but that realization, you're far from it. You need to realize it. And that approach to realization comes only from contemplation. So one of the biggest challenges we face in our modern day era is about understanding. We don't want to understand people. Just look at the political things that is going on. The left doesn't want to understand right doesn't want to understand left. Everybody has entrenched themselves in a whole so-called intellectual battleground, and we are nowhere close to finding a solution to any problem that we have on earth. And we are just creating noise instead of getting any amount of clarity. So if you are having any amount of financial issues, if a country has an amount of financial issue, it is simply because they are not able to understand what is happening. And every data, information, and knowledge at their disposal is proving extremely incompetent to answer the questions. Most economists are not sure how these lockdowns are going to end and what will be the ramifications the global economy will have. The only thing that can give you the clarity or help you attain that clarity, that right data, that right information and right knowledge, is only wisdom. So the wisdom is a whole different set of game, and we can take a long time. But I hope this gives you what you have, some clarity in this regard. Apart from Artha, Vyartha, and Anartha, there is another word, a very important word in the Vedic text, and it is called Purushartha. As you can see, it consists of two words. One is Purusha and Artha. The Purusha represents the individual's life, and Artha means meaning in this regard. Anything that gives you, by doing which you get some meaning to your life, that is called Purushartha. And according to the Vedic rishis, Purusharthas are individual to specific species and specific person. There are no commandments in Vedic text. There is nothing like you won't lie or you should lie. There won't say like you won't steal or you should steal, or there are no clear benchmarks. Because the commandments, according to the Vedic sages, were either data, information, and knowledge. They are time sensitive. Only wisdom is not. The entire reason for the Vedic text, the very word Vedic comes from the word Veda, which comes from the root word Vid, means wisdom. So anything that can give your life a meaning is called Purushartha. And you cannot expect to follow something blindly and have some pleasure and say that it is Purushartha. For anything to be called as a Purushartha, it needs to satisfy four objectives. They are Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Dharma is, as said, a broad concept, but for the sake of this webinar, we can understand it as duty. If you are born into any family, we have a duty to our parents, our siblings, our friends, When you go to the schools, we have duties at schools to our teachers. When you go to work, we have duties as an employee. When we become an employer, we have duties towards our employee. No matter in which phase of life you are in right now, you have set duties. There are also obligations. We have obligations as a citizens. We have obligations as a family member or to a particular sect that we may belong to. Commitments. Commitments we decide, but we do have to honor these commitments. We make promises and we are expected to keep true on these promises. So when you do everything that is right, that becomes dharma. And when you are we are being just perfect to your dharma, then naturally you get what is called as artha, that is meaningful wealth. It is not anartha, it is not vyartha, it becomes artha. So when you follow dharma, you do something and you earn something, that is artha. The next one is kama, desires. If you look at the animal kingdom, according to the rishis, they call it as ahara, that is food, nidra, that is sleep, bhaya, fear, and maithuna, or procreation or sex. These are standard to animal kingdom. But when people try to follow this series, when they try to get this ahara, nidra, bhaya, and maithuna, there is a lot of conflicts. There's a substantial amount of conflict that happens that leads to lot of nonsensical things like war and so on and so forth. So to avert that, you need to follow dharma, and only when you follow dharma, you get the meaningful wealth. And then when you satisfy your desires, kama, you lead a blissful life. There is another important aspect to this, and that is called moksha or liberation. Anything you have, someday you are going to lose it. It doesn't matter what. It can be money, relationships, ideas, thoughts, you name it. Everything in this world is static. There today, gone tomorrow. If something is taken away from us, which it will be at some point in time, we will feel sad, we'll feel depressed, we'll feel frustrated. But if we let go something of our own volition, of our own will, then the suffering is very limited. We won't suffer as much. That is why anything that we earn, we need to know, or we need to be prepared according to the rishis that we have to let it go at some point in time. Not many people are able to comprehend this concept. You need a lot of wisdom to understand it. And the webinar is a small place for me to for me to explain it to you. Now, let's come to the very fundamental question. How do we earn artha or meaningful wealth? Every practicing Hindu and a Buddhist have heard about the goddess Lakshmi. But today, in this webinar, we are not going to understand her as the goddess, but as the Vedic art and science of achieving meaningful wealth. The word Lakshmi has two words embodied in it. One is called Lux, and second one is called Lakshya. The first word means to pursue, observe, know, and understand. Lakshya means goal, aim, and objective. While Artha is Vedic wisdom on wealth, Lakshmi is art and science of wealth creation. So I hope you can recollect, the stream was pretty natural when I said that knowledge and wisdom are not the same. Lakshmi is knowledge and it can be understood effortlessly. Artha is wisdom, and you need a lot of time and energy to, you have to give your life dedicatedly to understanding it. According to the Vedic rishis, in the Vedic text, there are 8 Ashta Lakshmis, or 8 types of wealth. everyone right now would have met someone who would have lost some money and he said that, oh, I've lost my wealth. Somebody might have lost his apartment or a house and he would say that, oh, I don't have any wealth left. I'm a pauper and a poor. If you think that at any given point in time that you are a pauper, think again. According to the Vedic rishis, Dhanalakshmi, as we'll see in this context, is the wealth of currency. It is only a portion of wealth. There are 8 Lakshmis in this order. Adi Lakshmi, or primary wealth. You have health, you have mind, you have intellect, you have knowledge, you have relationships, you have family, you have friends, or you may have even a couple of good ideas with you. All these are classified as primary wealth or Adi Lakshmi. Adi means first. Without health, without mind, there is no other currency, no other wealth can be even made possible. And even if you have it, you won't be able to enjoy it. Dhanalakshmi or monetary wealth is what we all know, the currency, bitcoins, any other coins, or currencies, US dollar, Indian rupees, Russian rubles, you name it. Dhanya Lakshmi, the wealth of grains. No matter, there are some countries where it costs millions to buy a sack of grain. If you have heard of nations like Venezuela, you would know for sure that the money is not worth the paper it is printed in. Then you have got something only when you have the grains, the food in your belly, that you can have something called courage, which is called Veera Lakshmi. The Veera is basically strength, courage. It is only when you have the courage that you can have what is called as money or wealth that can imply power and prestige, or Gaja Lakshmi. It is only when you have something credible, a profession, a career, which is very much Gaja Lakshmi, you will be able to have kids. You will be able to have progeny, nurture them. And when you have children who are properly nurtured, who are given the what we call as samskaras, you will be able to give them as a wealth to yourself, your family, as well as the world. It will be your contribution to the world. You cannot bring up kids without the Gaja Lakshmi, without a career, without a profession, without substantial amount of credibility. You may be able to have kids, but those kids may not be able to be as much productive as they may be with the right sanskaras or the right nurture. Then there's something called as Aishwarya Lakshmi. It is about affluence and endowment. So basically, we hear about all the millionaires, billionaires, and successful entrepreneurs who have a remarkable, influence. If they say something, most certainly, hundreds of people will follow it. If they say that, okay, this stock is going to rise, so probably a lot of people may buy that stock in the market. That idea of affluence, that idea of importance is what can be understood as Aishwarya. It comes from a lot of factors, but you may have the other factors, but you may not yield it right if you have not understood the idea of the Lakshmi in the first place. Then there's something called Vijay Lakshmi. The objective of wealth, there's no point in saying that I'm going to earn $1 billion and not knowing what to do with it. So it is going to be what is called as Vyartha. Most often, when people have a lot of money but know what to do with it, they often create what is called anartha. They create disaster. And that is no success. It is only when you create a wealth and you use it for some productive purposes, that it becomes what is called as Vijay Lakshmi, or wealth of victory. So the key takeaway from the Vedic science and art and science of wealth is that nobody is actually poor. Nobody is really without suffering if just because they don't have currency with them. Now moving on to the next one. If you observe the iconography of goddess Lakshmi in Buddhist or Hindu scriptures, she's always on the lotus flower, on the lotus petal. She's either sitting or she's standing on the lotus flower. The lotus flower is the only flower that can blossom in a dirty water. This is to symbolize the purity and beauty of wealth, regardless of the good and bad circumstances in which it grows. It is a reminder that wealth and prosperity can bloom even in difficult surroundings. So if you think, oh, the economy is not good, everything is stressed out, so we will not be able to create wealth, you are wrong. No matter what, if there are people, there will be economy. Maybe certain things may get hit, but there will be opportunities. And you will not be able to understand or grasp these opportunities if you are too much focused on the data, information, and knowledge that you have had just before this economic mess, turns in. You need to have for this what is called as wisdom. The foundation of Artha and Lakshmi is manas or mana or the mind. On the lotus, it is to symbolize the quality of lotus. The lotus can live in the muddiest water, the most dirtiest water, and can still blossom. The wealth, if understood well, you will be able to create that wealth for yourself, your family, your society, and your nation, and the world at large, if you can understand it well. Therefore, to create that wealth, you need to have the right manas, mana, or mind. Anything you see, create, hear, smell, or anything that you have is possible because of the mind. And the mind is not brain. If you follow a couple of my articles on the Vedic management website, you would observe that how crucial it is to understand the importance of mind. Let me tell you a story to explain the mind. The story is about a rishi, basically a Vedic sage, a dimwit, and a goblin. So, a long time ago, there was a dimwit who wanted to make money easily. You see, most people want to make quick monies. Pyramid scheme, Ponzi schemes, they are often successful because most people they are unwilling to work smartly or wisely. Their incessant need is focused on getting it fast. So this dimwit was no different than than such person. So he went to a rishi and he said, Rishi, can you give me some mantra or a magic spell by which I could earn some quick wealth? So the rishi said, listen, if you do that, it is going to be anartha, it is going to be disastrous. But then this person was in no mood for the idea of wealth. So what happened is that the rishi tried to shrug him off, but this man was too persistent. He would always come back and bother him, irritate him, never let him meditate. So one day the rishi had it. So the rishi said, listen, my boy, I'm going to give you a magic spell. If you recite it 1,000 times, a goblin will appear. But remember, this goblin will keep asking you for work. And the moment you stop giving him any work, he is going to kill you. So he said, not a big deal. I will have enough of work for him to, to do all the time. He'll have his lifetime spent on work. The rishi said, the choice is yours. Do as you may please. And he gave him the spell. The dimwit, this dumb person, he went back, recited the spell 1,000 times, and voila, there was a goblin. And the goblin said, give me work or I'm going to kill you. So he said, don't worry. You see, there's a lot of land, tract of land my ancestors owned. Why don't you go and build a building there? Okay, he said, and just went there. In a couple of hours, the building was there. And he said, that work is complete. Give me more work or I'm going to kill you. So then he just looked at it. The building was there. He thought it was going to take him years. He said, okay, can you have some furnitures? The furnitures were ready in another few hours. Can you have curtains? A couple of minutes. So anything this dimwit asked this person to, this goblin to do was done in a matter of hours or minutes. Eventually, he ran out of work, and there was absolutely nothing he had to do. And this goblin was in front of him saying that, give me work or I'm going to kill you right now. So he said, please wait for me for some time. I'll get you some more work. And he ran as fast as he could towards the Rishi. And he said, oh, Rishi, I'm in a fix. This goblin is asking for work. I don't have any work for him. The Rishi said, I told you. But what do I do now? He's going to kill me. So the Rishi said, okay, so ask him to build a well with the steps and ask him to keep going up and down until you stop. So he went back and instructed the goblin to do just the same thing, that is to build a well with stairs and go up and down until he asked him to stop. This story represents goblin as mind. Our mind is remarkable. It's powerful. It creates our reality, our perceptions. If our mind is not engaged in productive work, then it is going to create us a lot of trouble. So we always have to give our mind work that it can benefit from. If you have a problem, then give your mind the work of finding a solution to it, not to brood on it. If you don't ask it to work on a solution, most certainly these people are going to suffer. You are going to suffer immeasurably. That is why Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says, Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho. The mind is the cause for your liberation or bondage. The liberation in it is also the reason for your success or your failure. Yoga Vashishta says, Yatha chitto tatha vakyam, yatha vachas tatha kriya. Yatha chitto, the way your chitta or your mind is, tatha vakyam, that is how you are going to speak. Yatha vacha, the way you speak is the way you perform. And the way you perform is the way you build your life. There's one more tale I would like to narrate in this particular context. It's a tale from Panchatantra. It might help to know that the Panchatantra was written by a person named Vishnu Sharma, and he was none other than the Kautilya or Chanakya who wrote Arthashastra. And in this tale is a story of a wise person. A long time ago, there was a wise man. He was born into a family which had a lot of wealth, money included. And he spent all his transactionable wealth for good cause. He gave lands to great institutions to do good service to the society. He gave money to the needy for good things. And eventually, doing all the good work, he lost all his wealth and he became a pauper. Now, there was a dilemma. A person whose hand has already given cannot beg. So he went to his wife and he said, how much dhanya, basically the dhanya Lakshmi we have, that is grains we have. And she said, pretty much enough to last for a month. And he said, sweetheart, we have lost all our wealth, okay, all our money right now. And I don't know how we are going to get it next. So whatever we have to ration it, and we have to be very careful not to spend it too much on the too much. Can we do it? He said, yeah, if we could work on it, we could be able to make it for 2 months, she said. He said, fine. And then he went to bed. While he was asleep, a person came into his dream. And this person said, listen, I am the wealth that you have spent for all the just cause. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to come to your house looking just like this and just take a big stick and bang it on my head. hit on my head hard. So he woke up and the barber had just come. So those days, you didn't have to go to a salon. The barber would come to your home to give you a nice shave and a haircut. And while the barber was doing his business, there was a sound, Bhavati Bhiksham Dehi. So in the Vedic times, the students would study in Gurukul and they would beg for alms for sustenance. It didn't matter you are a son of a king, a big businessman, or even a average working class. You had to beg for food, to learn humility, to know that until and unless you let go of your ego, there is no substantial thing in life to learn. So he said, Bhavati Bhiksham Dehi. And this man looked at this boy and he said, oh, this is the student, but he's the same guy who had come in my dream last night. So he called him in, gave him food and water. Then he took a big stick and then banged on his head, and wow, he turned it into the gold and all the wealth that he had spent for all the good causes. Now there was a problem. There was this barber out here, and this barber was having was looking shocked. Now this man didn't want barber to have the wrong idea and give wrong picture to the people. So he gave a small portion of the wealth to the barber and he said, shh, just don't tell anyone about this. The barber agreed and he went home happily. That money he wouldn't have earned for years, doing his business. So he went home and he told his wife, sweetheart, cook a meal for 100 people today. 100 people? Are you crazy? Here is the money. Okay, get 200, no problems. So then he went to the nearby Gurukul where the students, who would go there for education, who beg for money for other things. They called him for lunch. And after giving them lunch, he took a stick and started banging everyone's head, assuming that they will turn into just the kind of the gold that had happened in his master's shop in the morning. The one thing the story tells is that imitation is not the way to earn wealth. Just because someone started some business and he succeeded doesn't mean you too can follow his path and become successful. Success has no formula. If anybody is going to tell you that I'm going to teach you, secrets of success, then you must know that it is too good to be true, and it is always too good to be true. So if you think that following some ideas that you had in your mind, just because somebody had succeeded with it in the past, you will also succeed. You may not. And just because somebody has not implemented an idea which you have, probably you should give it a thought. And no matter what ideas you may have, before implementing it, calm your mind and reason with it. Your mind is your greatest friend when you listen to it, or when it listens to you. And mind is your greatest enemy when you listen to it. You are not your mind. Now, I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Now, let me open the floor for questions that you may have. So I am also new to this. So you may raise your question. If you can raise your, okay, there's a chat here. Let me see. Okay, so Mr. Anant Padmanabhan says, can we get a recording? I want my son to watch this. Most welcome, Anant. I'm sure we can make that available. Such a good story, and thanks for mine. Good. So yes, so lost a connection from the dream. Okay, wonderful session. Thank you. So anyone has any questions here? Okay, one new message. What is mind? Okay, that's a good question. If you look into the Vedic context, let me give you some very interesting aspects. The entire Vedas were written a spans of 5,000 years. The Rig Veda was written in a different time, the Yajur Veda was written in a different time, and so on and so forth. Even what you call as Upanishads. They happened at a different interval, but they all followed a particular sequence. In Rig Veda, there is a concept of Pancha Karmendriya, Pancha Gyanendriya, and Ekamana. Karmendriya basically your body. Okay, the body is basically said to be made of 5 gross elements: Agni, fire. Your body has fire; it needs to have some temperature. So that is the Agni. Prithvi, earth. So your body is made from the elements that is available on earth. Agni, Prithvi, Jal, water. 70% of this body is water. Vayu, the air you breathe. Akash, space. So how tall you are taking a space in this whole universe. So these are the 5 elements that make your body. And this body has 5 elements. Pancha Karmendriya, the, like hand, eye, speak and everything. The sensual perception, the perception with which you understand, you see things, you hear things, you taste, and then there are output device, organs like a hand, sweat, so on and so forth. But there is one mana. Mana is mind, the mind which makes, it all happens. And they thought for a long time that this mind was what we are. We are the mind. That is because if you look at your own photo, just go and search for your old photograph and stand in front of a mirror and look at the photo. The person in the photo and you are 2 different people. They are not the same. They cannot be the same. A great many cells in that body has died. And this body, what you have right now, is not the same body you had even 10 years earlier. 90% of thing is gone. So how do you connect yourself to that body? There must be something in it, right? Which is still, for a long time, the Vedic people thought that to be mind. But during the Upanishad era, they started asking questions. The one greatest aspect of Vedic knowledge is you don't have to accept your guru. You need to debate your guru. There is no blind thing. There's no commandments. You don't have to follow. There's nowhere it is said that the guru is ultimate. So during the Upanishad era, a person realized when you are deep asleep, just imagine there is a time when you are deep asleep. You don't know who you are. You don't know where you are. Basically, your mind is not there. Okay, but still you are there. So you're definitely not the mind. So who are you? So that is how the greatest, seeds like Adi Shankaracharya, if you read his works like Nirvana Shatakam, he tells you the quality of our true self, the idea of Atmana. The word Atmana essentially means that is beyond mind. At, that is beyond, mind, that is Mana. So what is mind? So mind is something like responsive. So if somebody is going to hit you, your face will do some reactions. Your body will react. It will try to protect itself or it will try to defend itself. So anything that gives you the instantaneous response to the external surroundings that you have, that you comprehend, is mana. What you are, the idea of true consciousness, you are not mana. You are something that is beyond it. So if you are blindly imitating someone, oh, he did it, so I should be able to do it, then you are following your mind. But if you're not, if your mind says, oh, that is wonderful, maybe let's go and eat it. But if you're saying, okay, let's wait, and then you're trying to think, that is real you, using all the components that is available in this body, the brain as well as the mind, to happen it. And also remember, the mind is not brain. It is, in simple words, you have a computer or a mobile in front of you. Now, what happens when you switch it off? It doesn't work. What happens when you switch it on? A software comes into the being. That software is your mind. I hope I answer it well. So I have another question here. I've had the question about the meaningful of cryptocurrency as well, but I've already got the answer. Thank you so much. Since it is about cryptocurrency, let me tell you something very important. Anybody can create cryptocurrency. You can start a cryptocurrency at home and you can say that, oh, I have a cryptocurrency here. When you create a currency, always remember, it has to resemble some wealth. Okay, for example, earlier days there were gold standards. Okay, if you have to print a certain amount of notes, you need to have certain amount of gold in your coffers. In US, that was made null and void by, I think, by Nixon in the 70s. They don't have a gold standards. So Americans can print as much dollars as they want, which they have done even recently to help their people. And they don't have what is called as, the right word for it is called inflation or hyperinflation. There's another country, there are two countries which tried to do it in recent times. One was Zimbabwe and second one is Venezuela. In Zimbabwe, you needed 20 million Zimbabwe dollars to buy a loaf of bread. Okay, and that happened because there were too much of currency in demand. That is too much of the Zimbabwean dollars and less of bread. So market is always about demand and supply. The cryptocurrencies have nothing to connect themselves in the background. Everything that is connected to the cryptocurrency is faith. Now, and the prices are essentially manipulated. Now, you may ask, what is manipulation? It's very simple. I can sit and I can say that I have created a Bitcoin. Okay, let's say M coin, Mahesh coin, or something. And I will say that my one M coin is worth $100. Okay, now somebody has to pay $100, so nobody will pay for it. So what do? I buy that $100 myself. So someone else looking at it and looking at the metrics, and he just observes this. Okay, so so the prices are going up and up and up. So if it has gone up for so many times, it must go up for some time. These are called financial projections, which are not scientific in nature. They are basically intuitive. Okay, and they are knowledge based. That doesn't happen. So the moment people stop manipulating the prices, that is when this hits down. There may be some time during which you can make money with the Bitcoin, but believe me, in the long run, without Rajyam, without governance, without a government representing people, having wealth is in place, they won't stand to make any difference. So please stay very careful about the cryptocurrencies. And this comes from someone who has worked, has invested in cryptocurrency in the past and has not failed. Okay, I hope this helps. How the mind plays a role in developing wisdom. Please give an example of wisdom. Okay. Let me tell you a story. That is the way the rishis have taught their knowledge from generations to generations. There were no papers during that time. And one story that comes to my mind is this. One day, a student went to the teacher and his guru, and he said, "Guru, you have taught me nothing. Okay, whatever you have taught, that other gurus have also teaching. What do you have to teach me? There's nothing specific about it." And the guru said, "I cannot teach you anything that I do not know. And what I know is what almost that other guru who has been my fellow student in the Gurukul or Vishwavidyalaya or university knows. So why should I come to you for education?" The Shishya asked. So the guru said, "Okay, wait here for some time. I'll be right back." And he went to this guy and went to his room, and he brought him a huge chunk of stone. Okay, just plainly a stone. And he said, "Please go to any person in this village, every person in this village, and ask him what he will buy this stone for." So, but he said, "Don't sell it. You have to bring it back as is." Student agreed, and he went there, and he took that stone. He went to a person who was trying to sell vegetables. He said, "Can you give something in exchange for the stone? How much would you value it?" So the person said, "What a stone is of use to me. I won't value anything. You want anything else, you have to give me some, currency." Then he went to a guy who was trying to sell cloth. He too didn't give any value. He went to literally any person who was doing some trade before and who everyone agreed that that stone had no value at all. Finally, he went to a jeweler, and the jeweler looked at it right in his hand, and he looked at the guy and he said, where the heck did you get this? Okay, he said, that does it matter? No, you have to tell me, because it's so valuable that I don't have the money. No, let alone me, nobody has the money to buy this kind of a valuable stone, he said. I was surprised. Really? Yeah. My guru gave it to me. Oh, must be then your guru is a very influential man. Only some king can afford something like this, and it must be his gift. So how much is the value? He said, I can't give any value to this. Now with that stone, he went back to the guru. And he said, and the guru asked what happened, and he explained exactly what happened. Half the people said it's worthless. The jeweler said that this is worth, in millions and billions. So the guru smiled and he said, everyone can see a stone. Everyone saw the same stone, but everyone pursued it in a different way. For half the people, it was useless. For someone, it was important. But the stone was with me, and it was given to me by someone. What do you learn from this? He said. The student said, it is about knowing the value of things we have. It is wisdom. So the answer to your question is, if you want to know what is wisdom, in very simple sense, if at any given point in time, you come to believe that, oh, I don't have money. Oh, I lost my job. Oh, I lost my company. Oh, I lost everything I have worked for. And if you're feeling suffering, that means that is because it's a sign of lack of wisdom. Because if you have wisdom, you would simply say, if I have created it, then I could as well as create it again. The wisdom is ability to understand the fact, realizing it, that everything that we create is going to die someday. Everything that we start is going to end. No matter how boring or how interesting I can make this webinar, I have to end it. That is wisdom. And once you know that there is no need for suffering, there's no need for pain, there's no need for stress, and you will become happy. Wisdom is a state of mind. In simple words, it's a very lame definition I can give you, but in simple ways, it is about realizing the truth of life and living with it in a way you are detached of it. You are neither happy, neither sad. Krishna answers this in a very simple way. Okay? Yona hrishyati na dveshti. One who never gets too excited. Na dveshti. One who never gets angry, never gets vicious about anyone else. Na shochayati. Neither just loathes anyone. Oh, he made my life miserable or something like that. Na kangshati. Who neither expects. Oh, I gave him that day. He is not giving me now. Okay. Shubha ashubha parityagi. Oh, one who never goes by the conventional idea of good and bad. Bhakti manyaha same priyaha. That person is wise and he is dearer to me. I hope this helps. There's so many questions out here. Thank you so much. Let me take one more question before I conclude this seminar. I've already taken a lot of your time. If wealth is connected to Artha in today's world, this will bring in sustainability, means no trade war. This question is by Rajendra Samal. So it's a very important question, and I think this can really connect how the Artha can help us understand trade wars. What is trade war basically? During the before the globalization or the capitalism or whatever you want to call it, when the global economies began to interconnect, we had standalone economies. A currency in one country won't work in another country for a long time, believe me. That is why the traders used to have a barter system. For example, a lot of in the 16th century and 16th century to 18th century, I guess, all the traders from the west would come to east, buy spices, and sell it back home. And in exchange, they would, in exchange for the spices, they would give back something like gold or silver. And they were not coins until then, okay? So there was a barter system. But when the economies started connecting, you must, as we are already, I've already said to you, the economy is made possible above anything is by mind. It's mind, okay? It's not anything else. Before anything, it's mind. So today, the economies are connected. So what happens when economies are connected? If you're going to wage a war on any other country, your country can face consequences. You may have sanctions, the UN may vote against you, or if you are an American, you may have other issues because you have corporations having business interests in China. Now, China does something nasty to US. The US has to respond to it in some ways, right? So what they do is that they increase the taxes, okay? So that if the China is trying to sell something that is already made in US, there's an extra taxes so that they protect the American interest. And second thing, they also teach a lesson to the Chinese saying that, okay, you can't have your own way, okay? Now, the trade war is nothing but conflict. And believe me, the human civilization, until the human mind exists, there will always be conflict. We have conflict even in our minds right now. Some people might regret, oh, I should have taken that job, I should have taken that this. We all regret, right? Those are conflicts. There will be no point in time that there will be, the humans will have no sense of conflict. There will always be conflict. We just need to find ways to ensure that the damage, the consequence, or the ramification of the conflicts are limited. That is why the Vedic aspects of Rajaniti and Kutaniti, which is a pretty broad subject, comes into the picture. I hope to do a webinar on it if you are interested. So do let me know. I would be very happy to do that. Okay, so 10 more questions. Okay, let me take this one by Manish Patel. How practical Vedic approach is in today's materialistic and capitalistic driven world? Okay. I have been following the Vedic precepts for 15 years. I need to tell you this. What I call as Vedic, other person may not. For example, for some people, the Vedic is idols, worshipping, rituals, and traditions. Okay. For them, Lakshmi is a goddess whom you need to worship during the time of Navaratri or Diwali or any other thing their religion says. That's all. Thank you so much. We have had a total of 180 attendees. So thank you so much. I'm humbled. Nama, pranam and namaste.